Hey, welcome everyone to the Roost. My name is Joe Cloyd. I'm one of the co-owners of this property, along with my partners Ted and Roxy Condry, who are here, and Adam and Kelly Dial. We want to just welcome everybody to this great event. We're excited to hear from all 5 candidates that are running for the mayoral seat. And a couple of weeks ago, just a little bit of background on why we're here is a couple of weeks ago we had a small group of business owners here in town that got together and felt like that it was appropriate and necessary to connect and give the opportunity for these candidates to have a platform and talk about why they're going to be running for mayor, and to be able to answer a couple of questions from a business interest and a community leadership perspective. And so each candidate is going to give opening remarks of 5 to 10 minutes. There are 6 questions that each candidate's going to get asked. And so we're going to try to keep each of those segments to 30 minutes. So some of the questions may have to be a little bit abbreviated, but for time's sake, we want to move things along and have people at least get the gist of it. But I know that there's going to be a lot of thoroughness because there were 3 questions that were given to them ahead of time, and there are 3 questions that are going to kind of be pop quiz style. But that's sort of our format for tonight. From a housekeeping perspective, this room, the canopy, is open. There's a restroom there. There are also 2 restrooms downstairs in Eat, Drink, Love and the Wilbur available. We'd ask you to silence your cell phones, and to the extent that you can't social distance, we would definitely ask you to wear a mask, certainly unless you're here at the podium speaking. We do want to be able to hear people clearly. There is, from a refreshment standpoint, there is in the Heron, in this room, there is a cash bar available upstairs, and then downstairs the Wilbur's open as well. So thank y'all again for coming out. To start this the right and appropriate way, before I introduce our MC, I'd like to introduce Reverend Mike Barnett, who's going to give a brief invocation for us.
Let's pray. Our Father, we have so many things to be thankful for. We're thankful for this beautiful venue we can meet in, and we're thankful for people who put their name on the line to run for office and take the risk and state their convictions and their ideas. We're so grateful for that. We're grateful for being a city that begins such things as this with prayer. It means we acknowledge that you're the one who is sovereign. And so, Lord, tonight we ask you that you would give every candidate clarity, and you would give us ears to hear, Lord, that we would be courteous and kind to one another, and that at the end of the day, when this election is over, your righteous will has been done. And we just pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you, Mike. Without further ado, I want to introduce our MC for the evening is Ricky Matthews. Ricky was the former publisher of the Sun Herald and the Times-Picayune and the Mobile Press Register, and he currently has a great show on Super Talk called Coast View, and he's going to be our question, answer, and our program driver tonight. Welcome, Ricky Matthews.
Thank you very much. Thank everybody for being here. Yeah. I live in Biloxi, so it makes it kind of the perfect moderator. You know, not actually living here, but I love Ocean Springs, and I talk about it all the time. What an amazing city this is. So I'm honored to be a part of this today. So we're going to get right to it. We have Cameron back in the back that's going to be watching the clock. We have about 7 minutes for opening statements, roughly, and then about 3 minutes per question. 3 questions are actually submitted ahead of time. 3 questions are going to be sort of surprise questions. But you'll get to hear what each candidate thinks about all 6 questions, and that's our intention. So without any further ado, let me bring out Kenny Holloway, who's going to be our first speaker. Kenny Holloway was born and raised in Ocean Springs. Is a 1979 graduate of Ocean Springs High School. He received his bachelor's from Millsaps in 1984, and since 1997, he has been the broker-owner of Holloway Real Estate Services. He believes his many years of business experience, work ethic, and vision, coupled with his love of Ocean Springs, are ingredients that qualify him for mayor. Kenny?
Thank you, Ricky. Can everybody hear me? Just a little bit more. I was born and raised here, like Ricky said. I grew up 2 doors down, 620 Porter Avenue. My family's lived in Ocean Springs for over 80 years. And attended St. Alphonsus Catholic School till 8th grade. That was the last 8th grade class that was at that school. I went to Ocean Springs and graduated in 1979 from where the upper elementary school is now. Went to Millsaps and graduated from there in 1983. And lived in Jackson for a little while. Went to work with Allied Signal. They moved us to New Orleans. We lived 6 years in Dallas, and got an opportunity to come back home. Took that opportunity. My brother was the mayor of Biloxi, so we moved our family to Biloxi, and started a business there. Spent several years on the school board, other civic organizations, and now I've come full circle. For the past 7 years, I'm right back to where I started from, and I'm glad to be back in Ocean Springs, and I'm glad to be here with you folks this evening. My campaign is based on 5 principles: leadership, infrastructure, community development, beautification, and amenities. So that's the topics that I'll be stressing tonight with the questions that'll be answered, and I hope that when I'm said and done, you'll know enough about me to make an informed decision, and I will have answered any questions that everybody might have had. So I'm ready when you are, Ricky.
Okay, right. So here's the first question, and as we discussed, about 3 minutes. What is your vision for the city of Ocean Springs, and what are the things that you've done or experienced in life or business that have prepared you to operate the city in an executive role? Please be specific about how you're equipped to prepare the city budget and managing personnel, including hiring your executive staff. This, of course, includes acting as the face of the city.
Well, like I said, I've worked in corporate America. I've worked in tourism. I was a director for the IP and government relations when they first started here. I've owned and operated a small business, much like you folks have. I know what it's like to make a payroll. I know what it's like to hire and fire employees. When I established my executive team, I am going to surround myself with individuals who are smarter than me in every category. I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room, but I want to have a team around me that's smart in everything and can handle our issues that we have in the city of Ocean Springs. I've worked on several boards and civic organizations. I know how to set an agenda. I know how to run a meeting. I know how to get the items taken care of during that meeting. During my 15 years on the school board, I was the president or vice president for 8 years of those. Just so happens I was the president after Katrina. We had to take the task of rebuilding schools, and then we had a task of finding students to go in those schools. It was not easy. The population had shifted, and one of the schools that we could not reopen was Nichols. And if anybody knows the history of public schools on the coast, Nichols is a very unique situation. The community was not happy with us, and we were not able to reopen that school, but we promised the people in that neighborhood that we would when the population came back. We took a beating, and the point of this is that, it's easy to make decisions in good times, but it's tough to make decisions in tough times. That was not a popular decision, but it was one that had to be made for the citizens, the entire citizens of Biloxi. The budget for that organization was between $50 and $80 million, depending on capital projects. That budget is very similar to the one in Ocean Springs in size. As for being the face of the city, I understand how important it is for an impression standpoint. And when you're dealing with developers for economic development and tourism, so forth, you need to present a positive outlook on the city. I'll promise you this, I'll always act appropriately. I will act professionally. I will not embarrass the city, and I will not embarrass myself.
Thanks, Kenny. And question number 2. Ocean Springs has aging water and sewer infrastructure that requires serious attention. Highway 90 has significant congestion, and challenges exist in most neighborhoods. While we understand you cannot fix the infrastructure needs in one term, how do you view them in terms of priority, and what are your long-term visions for solving them?
Well, I'm not going to be a mayor that sits behind a desk all day. I'm going to be out in the community. I'm going to be in front of the community with the board, with my executive team. I'll ride with the aldermen through their neighborhoods and their wards. We'll identify the issues in those wards. We'll come back together. We'll prioritize those issues as far as infrastructure goes. And then we'll create a timeline and a budget to address those issues. Starting week 1 in my administration, we are going to have a weekly directors meeting. The aldermen are welcome to sit in on that. We're going to form a team. It's not going to be a bunch of individuals. We're going to go and review what we had going on last week, and we're going to make our plans for what we're going to do in the coming week, and we're going to continue to monitor those projects until they get completed. Infrastructure it's not sexy work. It's under the ground, it's digging, it's messy, it's expensive, it's intrusive to the neighborhoods, it's intrusive to traffic, but it's something that has to get done. You've got to provide that to the citizens, especially in water and sewer. I'd like to have Public Works address the water and sewer issues. If we can't get to the bottom of that with them, then we probably have to go out to outside engineering and have them come in and do an assessment for us. These projects are expensive, like I said, and they cannot be handled totally financed by the city. We're going to have to reach out to the county. We're going to have to reach out to the state and probably some federal funds. The city pays its fair share in taxes to the state and to the county, and I have no problem with going to those entities and requesting those funds come back to Ocean Springs. We're not going to get them all back, but we want our fair share back, and we want to partner with these agencies to take care of some of those issues. As for Highway 90, there's several things that need to happen out there, but the main issue is traffic. I'll work with MDOT. We've got to keep that widening project on the front burner. We can't sit back and let that project slip back any longer. And again, I expect the county to go with me to address MDOT. I mean, that road's in the county just as much as it's in the city, and they should have an interest in getting it widened also. One thing we need to improve on in the mayor's office is partnering with other government agencies. Ocean Springs has kind of left it set on an island in the past. They've not been able to reach out across the bay to Biloxi or Gulfport, across the river to Pascagoula, and form coalitions. Billy Hughes' mantra, one coast. Well, that's true because Ocean Springs has something special, Biloxi has something special, Gulfport has something special, and Pascagoula has something special. And we need to harness all of that energy and go to Washington, go to Jackson as a group, and solicit funds to take care of these major projects.
That's time. Okay, and this is the
Am I
last
over the
question.
limit there?
Last question. Most people believe that Ocean Springs' economy is doing well. Do you see gaps in our local economy, and if so, what are they? And how would you recommend filling them?
Well, again, the gaps in the local economy seem to be along Highway 90. There's large tracts of land there. They're undeveloped. There's buildings that haven't been refurbished. Part of the job as a mayor is being economic development, that arm, and soliciting a plan, a long-range plan. The city should have a comprehensive plan, and that plan needs to be updated every 10 years. The last one, I believe, was done in 2010, so it's due to have a new comprehensive plan. That's the blueprint. When you put that plan together, that's where you direct people who are coming into Ocean Springs to invest money. You've got pockets that maybe it's the medical community, maybe it's the retail community. Hopefully we get, a hotel in Ocean Springs. Nothing against I'm talking about a big hotel. I'm getting my buddy here. But anyway, we've got a sports complex out there that we have kids 400 or 500 at a time coming in here, and we don't have a place to put them when they put the bats down in the afternoon. So what do? They go to exit 50, or they go to Biloxi, and that's where they stay, and that's where they eat and so forth. We need to keep those folks in Ocean Springs, so I firmly believe we need a hotel. Biloxi is trying to solicit some tech companies. I think Ocean Springs is perfect for tech companies. We've got the right demographics. We've got the right school district. And that school district can help us with economic development. So why not partner with them and see if we can bring those jobs to Ocean Springs? The Singing River Hospital System is applying for a BP grant to start a healthcare academy. It's in 1 year, it creates 220 brand new jobs, good paying jobs. 1,000 students will participate annually in that program. It's a $19 million program that will return $44 million into our economy. That's the kind of project we need to get behind. We need to be with Singing River Health Systems and partner with them and do whatever we can do as a city to bring that to fruition here. And I'm just going to touch on this briefly. We don't have a whole lot of time, but we need to annex 57 up to Interstate 10.
Thanks. As I mentioned, the first three questions were actually submitted ahead of time, and the next three questions were not submitted, so these will be new to you. So the first one is this. Explain how your administration will effectively foster relationships with the Board of Aldermen, the private sector, the county, the state, and the federal government to maintain Ocean Springs' charm while responsibly managing growth.
Well, I think I've already hit on some of that, but like I say, I'm going to work with the aldermen. I'm a team builder. I'm going to try to be a consensus builder. I don't like conflict. I like to get everybody on the same page and hit it in the right direction. I've already said I was going to reach out to other cities. The county has got to be a partner with Ocean Springs. We send a lot of tax dollars to the county, and we've got to get some of those tax dollars back. With a comprehensive plan and a good plan, we can develop Ocean Springs. We can move Ocean Springs forward. Ocean Springs is a good place to live, but it can be a great place to live with the proper growth. And we've got to, in doing all this, just got to be smart about it, because we can't, take away from what makes Ocean Springs the place it is, the charm, the atmosphere, the friendly folks, and so forth. Did I get everything there?
You're good.
Okay.
Thank you. So here's the second one. There is a perception that the city's focus on beautification has waned in recent years, while challenges like homelessness have increased. These issues impact both the quality of life for residents and the experience of tourists and visitors to Ocean Springs. What will you do as mayor to improve beautification, address homelessness, and improve the quality of life here?
Beautification is a line item in the budget, and basically once you allocate that money for beautification, then it's up to Public Works to get it done. And like I say, we'll have weekly meetings, and we'll discuss beautification, and we'll make sure that the downtown area has adequate beautification and is cleaned properly. One thing about the homelessness, we do have a homelessness problem here. It's a drug-related problem. They're not violent individuals, but I think it's a drug-related problem. It's kind of, it's a tough thing to handle. You got to be kind of callous in a way, but you got to be kind of sympathetic to the homeless. The way to get the homeless situation under control is to to identify the ones that can go into the workforce and try to get those folks in the workforce, identify the ones who need mental assistance and direct them to get that help. And then some of them you just can't help, so you got to make them uncomfortable. You got to keep them moving. You know, you can't let them squat somewhere. And eventually I think they'll get irritated and they'll move on. But there's a lot of things within the law that a homeless person has to their benefit that restricts the city from doing much with it. Our quality of life, you know, we have a good quality of life here. What we need to do is to increase our tax base, and you do that in one of three ways. You raise property taxes, millage, you add sales tax to it, or you increase the tax base, and nobody wants the first two. We want to increase the tax base. And in doing that, we'll have money to spend on projects that'll increase the quality of life in Ocean Springs. We got a great quality of life, but it can be really, really great with some good enhancements.
Thank you, Kenny. Here's the last question. Pascagoula and Gulfport, among other cities, have major economic development projects on the ground and in the works. They are funded through their respective development authorities or redevelopment authorities. Would Ocean Springs benefit from establishing a redevelopment authority? If so, what should be the goals of such an entity?
You know, I don't know if Ocean Springs needs a redevelopment foundation, but they need a development foundation. And I'm not sure how that works with the city government. I don't see it as a planning commission. I see it as an arm of the mayor, where he has a group of advisors, local business people that will get in front of developers when they come to town and tell them what we have here and what's good here and how their businesses have thrived and developed. We are not very developer friendly in Ocean Springs. You know, it's tough to do business in Ocean Springs, and we've got to make that easier. But in doing so, we can't be just haphazardly developing, you know, stuff. Going back to that comprehensive plan, once we have that blueprint in place, we can direct that development. And but yeah, I would, like I said, I would love to have a group of business people in different forms of business, whether it's food and beverage, lodging, medical, whatever it is, set on a board as an advisory board to the mayor, and create some type of plan.
Thank you very much, Kenny.
No,
Appreciate
that was easier than I thought it was going to be.
That was Kenny Holloway.
Can I make some closing remarks? Come on.
Okay.
Give me two minutes. 2 minutes. I just want to say something. And Jeff, you can listen if you like. I'm passionate about Ocean Springs and what it can become. We have a good thing going here, but it could be a great thing. If we plan and make the right decisions over the next 4 years, that will happen. I just turned 60 years old, a birthday right here, February 2nd. I have the experience, I have the drive, I have the desire to make that happen. This is my hometown. This is where I grew up. My family's been living in that same spot for over 80 years. I feel very fortunate to be able to return home and contribute to Ocean Springs to make it the best place to live, work, and give back to this very special place we call home. I'm humbled to ask for your support, and more importantly, I ask for your vote on April the 6th. God bless each of you, and God bless Ocean Springs.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, next up is Jeff Guice. Jeff is currently serving as a state representative for House District 114. Jeff?
Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to share a few things about my formative years. You know, while I was in school, I was involved in a lot of activities, but one in particular was the most important. That was scouting. Yes, Boy Scouts. I'm proud to tell y'all I'm an Eagle Scout. You know that only 4% of people that participate in scouting since it started in 1911, 4% make it to the rank of Eagle. To become an Eagle, you learn many leadership skills, the meaning of commitment and service to our fellow man. While I was growing up, my dad was a major impact in my life, and there were three things that he was a stickler on: to work, being responsible, and pay your own way. Beginning at 10, my brother and I mowed enough yards to buy a gas-powered lawnmower. One of those rotary push ones. Some of you young folks probably never saw one of those before. When we asked our dad to give us the money for gas to pay for us to cut his yard, he said, just use my mower, it doesn't require gas. That's where I came from, having to be responsible to yourself. We also had a paper route. Can you imagine, by the way, Chick had one too. Can you imagine boys in between 12 and 14 years old getting up 7 days a week in the 70s to deliver a newspaper? In doing that, you were responsible for not only delivering a paper, accounts receivables, accounts payables, and marketing. You had to go out and collect the money. You had to turn it in, and you had to seek new customers as people moved or passed away. This shows at a young age I was prepared for hard work and commitment and dedication to my responsibilities. I took a non-typical route on my higher education, working my way through college, and began my real estate career in Ocean Springs in the mid-'80s. Shortly thereafter, God shined his light upon me and gave me the love of my life, the former Miss Belinda Grider, and 3 children, Heath, Lincoln, and Alexis. We've been blessed, and our family has grown, and we have 3 grandchildren. As a real estate broker, I established my own company after just 2 short years. Then I was blessed to be running a nationally franchised company, growing to a staff of 25. We set a goal to provide our customers and clients with the best experience possible, and I led our team to winning the Quality Service Award 5 years in a row with a customer approval rating over 95%. Also winning the Martha Helm Award for community service as a realtor along the way. As a man of service, I served as a deacon for the First Presbyterian Church for 6 years. I served on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Gulf Coast, serving as president in 1998 and 99, and being honored and recognized for service and commitment, receiving the Outstanding New Board Member Award in 1993 and the Outstanding Board Member Award in 1995, and the prestigious Man Youth Award in 2000. Also of note, as a young man, I was honored by the JCs to be the outstanding first-year JC for the state of Mississippi. I'm a master mason. As a mason, I've been privileged to participate as a York-Rite Mason and served as a presiding officer in 2019. Our primary philanthropies include research in children's hearing and vision issues. I'm also a Shriner. Was honored to serve as a presiding officer of the Potentate in 2020. As a Shriner, I'm currently serving in my 5th year on the Shriners Children's Hospital Shreveport Board of Governors, establishing an outreach clinic here in Ocean Springs at the end of 2019. As a Scottish Rite Mason, I currently am serving as the presiding officer. The Scottish Rite Philanthropy supports learning disabilities, such as dyslexia. I currently serve on the Scottish Rite Foundation for the state of Mississippi, and currently working on a project to support our own Lighthouse Dyslexia School here in Ocean Springs. I began my service as your state representative in 2008. At that time, the Republican Party was in the minority. I quickly learned that a Republican had to develop relationships with the majority party to get anything done. In one such case, there was a strong movement to allow the county jail to move out of the county seat. That would have been bad for us on this side of the county. The bill appeared to be headed to passage. I met with the leader of the controlling caucus. He's a gentleman from Pascagoula, Moss Point. I met with the leader, expressed my concerns about the action, and the measure quickly went down in flames. That was from relationships. As our caucus grew and we established a majority, my participation in the process rapidly changed, where I became and was appointed chairman of Marine Resources, where I passed landmark legislation protecting the rights of waterfront property owners. Then I was appointed chairman of Interstate Cooperation, then chairman of Ports, Harbors, and Airports, working on issues that impact our state's economy as one of the largest economic engines for our state. I've served on 14 different committees in this many years, gaining vast knowledge on a broad level of subject matters. I coordinated the passing of landmark legislation on the Cook Road project with TIF funding. That's something formerly that was reserved just for municipalities. We're able to get that started at the county level. I helped secure one of the largest awards from the Road and Bridge funding to replace the Wade Van Cleve Road Bridge crossing the Pascagoula River. I am the sponsor of the bill that allowed our city to have golf carts on our public streets. I was instrumental in the development and passage of our Red Cup law, and I've had great success in fulfilling the requests of our city, Jackson County, our major stakeholders like the Gulf Coast Research Lab and the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College. I've been a major part of our community receiving record amounts of funding from our dedicated funding sources, such as the Tideland Funds, BP money, and Go Mesa funds. These things do not happen in a vacuum. They happen as a result of hard work, commitment, and strong working relationships. As your state representative, I've developed strong relationships with large employers like Chevron, Ingalls, Singing River Electric, and Mississippi Power. I even have a good working relationship with CSX Railroad, getting the private pedestrian crossing reopened underneath the US 90 overpass at no expense to taxpayers. I've been blessed to build great friendships with relationships that have led to success in achieving the goals, the people I serve, which includes you. If you get a chance, ask the county or city officials and leaders, along with the folks of the Gulf Coast Research Lab and Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, to see how successful I've been at helping them achieve their goals. Now, moving on to the future. Why do I want to be mayor? I want to serve you as mayor because I have the life experience, the history of success, and relationships at all levels of government to do good work for Ocean Springs. I understand the process well, to develop a collaborative environment with the people, the businesses, the political subdivisions. I've worked with people at many levels to help them achieve their individual as well as collective goals. I am confident I can bring my experiences home, bring us all together, regain the community pride we all share. We are all stakeholders in our community. I want to work with you to develop a plan that brings us all together for the future of our community, family, and children. To sum it up, I want to unify our people, make a difference in how business gets done at all levels here in Ocean Springs. I plan to work with the Board of Aldermen and departments heads to develop a long-range plan for our city. That includes our infrastructure, planning department, public safety, economic development, beautification, and recreation. We will work together to create a framework for future development that adds to the beauty of our city and maintains its individual charm and unique character. A framework that spells out what is expected and still provides a bit of flexibility so we can adapt to unique situations and still maintain our priorities, such as continual support of our tree canopy, architectural charm, and attractive way of life. I hope to work with the aldermen to develop a tool other successful cities have used, a team of community business leaders to work along the lines of a redevelopment commission, to organize the groundwork for our city we feel and look like our children and grandchildren would enjoy. I plan to find the money in our budget to beautify our city, to bring flowers back downtown, and systems to help beautify our neighborhoods throughout the city. I am confident that if we spend a little time, effort, and resources on beautification, cleaning up, and restoring our sense of community pride throughout the city, we will treat each other kinder as we work on the problems we're currently facing. Bringing more people together will help us solve the issues of the day. We need to work on a better plan for the Front Beach. Currently, the county has the ultimate responsibility, and the city operates in more of an advisory role. I plan to use the strong working relationships I have with the county officials to develop a better strategy for the beach, including its utility and preservation. Although the beach has received a lot of attention from the media, I've heard a lot more people voice concerns about the homeless problem that has impacted our entire community. It's my plan to bring the organizations together that currently serve the homeless population, develop a coordinated system of service that will reduce the negative impacts of the homeless population. We have many ministries that serve the homeless. However, there's not sufficient coordination to manage the issues. We need to be proactive and develop a long-range plan to upgrade and systematically update and repair our aging infrastructure, roads, drainage, sewer, and water systems. You're setting up like you want me to stop. Is that right? Did you give me time for the stopping? We'll stop. That's good enough.
Yeah, we gave you extra time.
I'm good. Go
You
ahead.
good? Okay, good, thanks. Thanks. Okay, as we said, the first 3 questions were submitted ahead of time, and the last 3 were not. And here's the first question. What is your vision for the city of Ocean Springs, and what are the things you have done or experienced in life and in business that have prepared you to operate the city in an executive role? Please be specific about how you are equipped to prepare the city budget, managerial responsibilities, and that includes hiring an executive team. This also includes acting as the face of the city.
Sounds like about 5 questions in one.
It is.
Wasn't it?
It is.
All right, first, the vision for the city. The first thing that we have to work on is our unity. We've got to be able to work together, to be inclusive of all mindsets, to be able to affect change that we will all embrace, to be able to be proactive and work to beautify our city and accomplish our goals, to be cooperative and collaborative in what we're trying to do. We've got to clean this place up. You know, we've got a little messy over the last few years. That's one thing that I've heard a lot, is that we're not as clean as we used to be from the local folks, even though we're real popular. When I go talk to people and I ask them what's wrong, one of the things is that we got too much stuff going on the streets. We got to be a little bit more hospitable. Now, how do we get there? Well, we get there by being together, by working together, by being transparent, by willing to accept one another and our differences. And let's find the common ground that we can all agree on and focus on that. The second part of the question, what experiences prepared me to operate the city? Well, I've been in government for 14 years. We've done good work. I've worked on budgets. I've worked with a very diverse group of people from all walks of life across our state. Very different, and been able to accomplish good work, bringing us all together to achieve a common goal for the good of our state. I could bring that home and bring it here and do good work here for all of us here in Ocean Springs. As far as the budget goes, you know, our budget, I got a copy of it, it's 52 pages. Seems pretty substantial. It's more than the one that I have at home that I have to do. But it's not even close to the one that we work on for the state. It's over 600 pages. I'm not even going to begin to talk about the amount of money. It's about the complexity. You heard me talk about being on the Board of Governors for the Shriners Children's Hospital Shreveport. Our budget is quite complex and very high. We work on that every year, and I'm in my 5th year of that. That's probably more in line with the size and scope of the city's budget. In business, my Century 21 company I had, we had to develop a budget annually for that and work through it. The restaurants that I've owned, we had to work through budgets there. And in the developments and construction projects that I participated in along the way, we developed budgets. It's all about bringing people together to work on the budget, to trust the people that you work with. At the city level, we have the clerk. In the state, we have the legislative budget office. Then you have hearings, meetings in our case, with the department heads and the aldermen on what the priorities are and how we're going to achieve them.
Ready to go to the next question?
Oh, they're time limited?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was a long question.
3 minutes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, the next question, is also submitted in advance. Ocean Springs has aging water and sewage infrastructure that requires serious attention. Highway 90 has significant congestion. Challenges exist in most neighborhoods. While we understand you cannot fix the infrastructure needs in one term, how do you view them in terms of priority, and what is your long-term vision for solving them?
3 minutes. I didn't practice 3 minutes on these. You'll have to forgive me. I was looking at 30 minutes for the whole picture show. Infrastructure. Got to work with Public Works. They're the ones that's in charge of that. The aldermen are very familiar with it, and the engineers around our community. We've got to set priorities based on critical need, on safety factors. We've got to look at the age, and then what's economically possible. You know, we got to have a long-range plan. We have an awful lot of resources underground that have a depleted capacity. We've got to make an effort to analyze the life of these products and put them on paper and plan on having them replaced through their life. I feel like that what I've been seeing, and I might be wrong, we've been reactive. We need to be proactive and plan beyond its goals. It's not absolutes, beyond our 4 years to what the future holds. And so far as things like Highway 90, I have a great working relationship with MDOT. The district engineer, Kelly Castleberry, and I speak on the phone regularly. Helped out with a few things around our city already. We do need to address things like traffic flow, traffic lights, you know, their coordination, or, you know, the future says that we're going to be eliminating those. Are y'all aware that more traffic accidents happen at traffic lights than any other place? That's a fact according to the statistics from MDOT. But the plan has to be put together in a collaborative effort with the alderman, department head, engineers, MDOT, the county. We all got to work together to form what we're going to do. Just one person is not the people or the person that can do that. It takes a team that's willing to set priorities and work through it.
So you can do it. That was wonderful.
It's hard.
No, you did great.
I'm from an environment that talking long is not an issue. So.
Okay, this is question number 3. Most people believe Ocean Springs' economy is doing well. Do you see gaps in our local economy? And if so, what are they? How would you recommend filling those gaps?
Before we get to gaps, let's talk about what we have. We have plenty of services. We have plenty of doctors, lawyers, accountants, physicians. We've got great engineers. We've got great people, insurance companies providing us all kinds of services. You know, we have more places to eat per capita than any other place on the Gulf Coast. We have more square footage of grocery store per capita than any other place on the Gulf Coast. So we've got some of the best shopping. That's what we're real popular for. Our art is second to none globally. We have a great sports complex in our beaches. We're set up for tourists greatly. In fact, we need the tourists for our small shops downtown to thrive and survive in the new economy where so many of us are shopping online. So what we're really missing is places like this. We don't have enough accommodations for our guests and visitors. We need to have a mindset when we're developing the plan for our accommodations that's in line with the new traveler. And the conversations that I'm having with people that visit with us in the tourism committee or other people that I know that develop things for tourists, Americana, the nostalgic way of life, the way things were of yesteryear, a lot of times that's what the new traveler wants. They want to have a little bit more individualized experience when they travel. They don't want to be just packed in a box, and we don't need to be the host of the cheapest place in town. We need to be the place where the folks come that want to have an experience and they're willing to pay for it. So, along with accommodations, entertainment, family entertainment, with our sports complex, if we are able to attract businesses that will cater to the sports complex people, the families, and I've actually been in conversations with a few, haven't gotten anywhere yet, but as y'all know, you just keep pecking at it, and one day you'll be able to turn a log into a beautiful work of art. High-tech entertainment. That is becoming more affordable every day, where you can have these experiences where it doesn't impact the environment terribly, and people can go into essentially a box that moves around and blows air on you and gives you some visual stimulation, and you think you're an avatar of some type. It's becoming available to everybody. We've got to attract people here to do that if we're going to grow that economy. But the first step is the accommodations. We've got to create a framework in order to have that take place.
Thank you. Okay, these are from the list of unsubmitted questions. The first one is this. Explain how your administration will effectively foster relationships with the Board of Aldermen, the private sector, the county, the state, and the federal government to maintain the Ocean Springs charm while responsibly managing the growth.
I think that's what I was speaking to already. Do y'all want me to talk about it again, or y'all had enough of that? I have the relationships already working with all of these people to do just what the question asked. And I'm prepared to move forward and do good work for our city.
I almost said that you addressed that pretty well in your opening comments. So, question number 2. The perception is that the city's focus on beautification has waned in recent years, as you previously pointed out, while challenges like homelessness have increased. These issues impact both the quality of life and residents and the experience of tourists and visitors to Ocean Springs. What will you do as mayor to improve beautification, address homelessness, and improve the quality of life here?
Well, the first thing in beautification is we got to get people bought into participating. We also have to find a place in the budget. In the overall budget, and doing a little bit of research, it's not a lot. We've just got to make sure that we set our priorities so that it's included. There's more to just doing the entrance to downtown and a few places around business. We have to look at the beautification for our subdivisions. You know, we have some subdivisions that are doing a great job, and there's to keep their entrances beautiful and some not so much. You know, there's a lot of different ways that we can bring people together to give them incentives to make our community more attractive. You know, those stakeholders in the community, some of y'all are those. If we can get some input and some support from different organizations with just a little bit of money each, we could come up with a plan to beautify our whole town. We've got to make cleanliness a priority. Now on the homelessness, y'all, it's become a problem. We had a homeless person set a house on fire recently. We've got young ladies, high school girls, getting accosted at the gas station buying gas. We got to get a handling on this. Now, you heard me speak a little bit to homelessness and the ministries. The other part is we've got to come up with a program. I've got a framework, an acronym, CARE, C-A-R-E. Counsel, that's something that those ministries can help us with. Assist, that's something those ministries can help us with. After somebody has had counseling and assistance and they still become non-compliant, don't want to participate, then we have to look at relocation. What that looks like, the aldermen are going to help decide that with what the partners in our town want. Okay? Then we got E, we need to energize. We found, I've been studying homelessness since I got in the legislature. I've traveled other parts of the globe and across our country. It's not unique to Ocean Springs. And there's a lot of different ways that different organizations deal with it. But there's two things they all do. They all relocate in some fashion. Some temporary during the day. Some put them on a bus to another part of the world at different levels. And they all energize or go talk to them and make them less comfortable in where they're sitting or standing. I even talked to a gentleman yesterday from another part of the country, and in their ordinances, they made it illegal to lay down in public space. You'd be surprised how easy that is to enforce. There's a little thing we can do in our own town, in our parks. Ask the chamber and our public parks to close after dark. Unless you have a permit to be in it, then the people won't be in the parks sleeping. It's sad that our children and ladies in our town are fearful of this scourge that's causing difficulty in all our lives.
Thank you, Jeff. And this is the last question, which you also addressed to some extent, but you can add whatever you want to add to it. Pascagoula and Gulfport, among other cities, have major economic development projects on the ground or in the works. and they are funded through respective redevelopment authorities. Would Ocean Springs benefit from establishing a redevelopment authority? If so, what should the goals of such an entity be?
Well, can we benefit from that? The answer is absolutely. How we structure it, I believe that since our town and our budget is such that it is, we have to be careful saying we're going to just spend a lot of money up front to create it. So we're going to have to take a kind of a broad path with a lot of volunteers to start with, and then work it down to something that can be effective for our community. The good people that love our city are here. This is something we have to do together. It's just that simple. No one person can do it. And I don't want to retread what I just said a few minutes ago, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay, that's it. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
Real quick,
Yes.
I want to leave you with one thing. I want you to remember something. It's important that we all think like this. God loves you, and so do I. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And now I'm going to call on Joe Cloyd, who's going to introduce our next candidate.
Hello again. Our next candidate is Summer Devereaux. Summer qualified to be mayor, to run for mayor on Friday afternoon, late after we had most of the preparations done for this. We did not give her the benefit of providing the questions ahead of time, like we did the other candidates, and so we just didn't really want to handicap one candidate over another. We do want to give her, around 10 minutes, a little more to describe her platform, tell us about who she is, and what her plans are as mayor. And so with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Summer Devereaux. Diaper change, sorry.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The gentleman does not know that a lady needs more than 10 minutes to speak, but I'm going to try to squeeze it all in there for you. I'd like to give you a very brief thing about me. Some of you know me, some of you see me downtown. I work for the City of Ocean Springs in Public Works.
Can you move the mic a little closer to your mouth, please?
Is it my height?
Yeah. There you go. That's good right there. Yeah, thank you.
I work for the City of Ocean Springs. I moved here 8 years ago. I came here on a fishing trip, and I never went home. I sold the house, packed the kids, and joined the school system. I have one child who is in the middle school. She's in 7th grade. And I love the City of Ocean Springs. I worked for the police department. I was the crossing guard for several years. I've helped your children at Oak Park and at the upper elementary and occasionally at Magnolia Cross every morning safely. I know them by names and care for them dearly. I joined the Department of Public Works because I have a green thumb, and I plant almost every single flower that you see when you walk downtown Ocean Springs. The grass that you picnic on, I am the one who cuts early morning before you take your morning stroll. I clean the beaches and I blow the sand off your paths so you can enjoy this beautiful city. I call myself the invisible worker because I do all my work before everyone else is outside. I enjoy meeting people, and I would love to be your mayor because I've noticed after working 40 hours a week on the streets of this city, I know the infrastructure, I meet the people, and some of the town members have come to me with their wants and their needs and their desires. My signs are late coming in the mail, but I promise within the next few days you're gonna see me everywhere, and it will say Vote Summer, Mayor for Ocean Springs. I'm gonna get quickly to the platform because I don't have a lot of time, and that timer is making me nervous. The first thing I think is very important that we need to address is there are 3 pillars that hold the City of Ocean Springs: the Department of Public Works, the Police Department, and the Fire Department, which reminds me to say our prayers for the police officer who passed away. My prayers go out to him and his family. Those three structures, those are the three pillars that hold the city of Ocean Springs. We need upgrades, sewer lines, water lines, pipelines. I understand we cannot do it all overnight, but perhaps one part at a time to improve our city. Now, having said that, we have the best school system, and a lot of people move to Ocean Springs because they love the schools. And the schools, of course, have families moving in here, and those families need houses. The average cost of a home here is $165,000. So I would love for our private investors to build more homes so we can house more families, so that our community can grow and we can maintain the design and the art and the beautiful structure and architecture that we're all known for. And I also care a lot about the trees and the environment because I work with plants. I have started to grow tulips using science called hydroponics. It's not a new science. I use water and nutrients, and I grow flowers. And I am also working with a program at the Mississippi State Agriculture Program to start planting wildflowers in the outskirts of Ocean Springs and to try to pull our whole town together, because I think we have done an amazing job at our downtown area. But I think it's important that we allow our distant neighbors to feel included, and perhaps nice long trails of beautiful flowers will bring them in. I want them to know that everybody matters. I keep a low profile, so I'm sure some of you looked for me on social media and could not find me. But starting Friday, God willing, I will be everywhere. And I thank you for your time, and it was nice meeting all of you behind your masks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is an agenda. That's the timer. He's the bad guy. You have to be touched by her passion for her work. I really was touched by that. So I want to call on August Taccone now, who's going to introduce Chick Cady, our next candidate.
Good afternoon. Well, our next candidate is Fred Chick Cady, and Fred has a long history of service with the city of Ocean Springs. Now, he began his business career of 48 years at Ingalls Shipbuilding, and he's been a member of the Ocean Springs Board of Aldermen for 24 years. And he was inducted into the Mississippi Municipal League Hall of Fame. And there's more. Chick currently serves as the City of Ocean Springs and the Ocean Springs Chamber Events Coordinator. His very active schedule keeps him busy with the Chamber and the Main Street Tourism Bureau, and his work with Cruising the Coast, Peter Anderson Festival, the city's annual tree lighting, Mardi Gras parades, and more, which are all huge economic generators for the City of Ocean Springs. And he's received the Community Leader of the Year award for the City of Ocean Springs, along with the Main Street Hero Award from the Mississippi Main Street Association. He was involved with cruising for nearly 20 years. And in the beginning, the first year, they registered 400 cruisers. And last year, over 8,000. In between all that, well, Chick has been a softball coach and a baseball coach. And he is married to Rebecca Sue Cady and has two daughters, Pam and Kay. Welcome, Chick Cady.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Whoa. I thought there was going to be 15 of y'all there. Whoa. Excuse me. I have had the pleasure of serving Ocean Springs for a number of years, but the most important thing I have had is meeting fine people. Ocean Springs is blessed with all the people that they have. They're just unbelievable. I don't know for sure.
Could you raise that mic up, please?
Yeah. How about that? But we've been blessed with people, and I've met so many people doing all of these Cruising the Coast, Peter Anderson and other events that we've had, and all of them want to move down here.
And I've been privileged to have at least 20 of them that I know buy homes here and houses and build. In fact, one of them's building a house right there on the Applewhite property that we used for so many years as Cruising the Coast, where we had our music. And I hated to see it, but I was glad to see that he got it. So anyway, so now, the questions or what?
Sure. So we'll start with the three that were submitted in advance. And here's the first question. What is your vision for the city of Ocean Springs, and what are the things you have done or experienced in life or business that have prepared you to operate the city in an executive role? Please be specific about how you're equipped to prepare the city budget and managing personnel, including hiring an executive team. This also includes acting as the face of the city.
I was privileged to be an alderman for 24 years in Ocean Springs. Of that 24 years, I was privileged to work with the budget, and so I know a lot about it. I've had to endure the lean years when we had no money at all, and we've come from that to where we are now. The most important thing about the vision of Ocean Springs is really simple. I had a friend of mine, Brad Lemon, I'll quote his name, that told me something one time in 1982. He said, "Chick, big is not always better." And you know, that has been true with Ocean Springs. And we're growing, but we're growing at a manageable rate. Now, when that rate gets unmanageable, then you'll know it's time to do something. Well, it's time to do something. So I think when you establish a team, you take all the community leaders that you can get, you put the finest people in spots that they are familiar with, and you come together as a team. And as a team, along with the Board of Aldermen and the mayor, you determine what you want to do. What is our vision? Where do we want to go? Long term and short term. If we can go for many years with the plan that we have now, great. But it is true, Ocean Springs is going to grow, and you have to manage that growth. We are pretty well grown out in the downtown area. There's a few places that I guess we could really grow. But that's what happens over time. Those things change, and houses become apartments, and apartments become bed and breakfast and vacation rentals. That's true all over the South. But anyway, the other thing is, how do you manage the city budget? Well, by having the retail stores that we have right now, currently, we are able to do marvelous things. Our retail sales for this past year has really increased in spite of the COVID, and that's been really good. The portion that I like probably best is our restaurants. They have managed to do very well in spite of not having inside dining. You can go out to Highway 90 and see them stacked all over the place trying to get in, chicken places and everything else. That's good. We have 3 grocery stores that people from Biloxi just love to come over here because they can get in and get out. They excel in sales every year, so that's great. The other thing is Ocean Springs pretty well sells itself. You don't have to do too many things to have people come to Ocean Springs. They want to come, so you need to accommodate them.
Okay, thank you, Chick. We're taking about 3 minutes per question, just so you know.
All right.
So, okay, the next question is this. Ocean Springs has an aging water and sewage infrastructure that requires serious attention. Highway 90 has significant congestion, and challenges exist in most neighborhoods. While we understand you cannot fix the infrastructure needs in one term, how do you view them in terms of priority, and what long-term vision do you have for solving them?
Our water system is one of the best in the state. Our water system is checked every month. We have several locations that we have to glean the water from. It's checked, and it has to meet certain standards. We have never failed. It's always been perfect. Now, it is true that the system is aging in areas. We already have in place the priority areas that need to be replaced. Now, some of those we can do ourselves in-house, and others we'll have to form out, and we'll have to have contractors come in and do it. The problem that you have with that is you cannot tear up the whole street at one time without having accommodations problems. People can't get to their homes, they can't drive in, they can't drive out. But we've been able to do a lot of things with running pipe now underground and not having to dig. So maybe in some areas we can do that without tearing the whole place up. But the problem comes is when you connect into that house into the line, and then also managing to get rid of the lines that are already in the ground. So the state pretty well controls what we have to do with the water system. We don't have a problem that we can't fix. The sewer system's the same way. We have to meet certain state standards, and that's done. All of the priority areas have been identified that need to be replaced, and the pumps, the whole system is constantly being surveyed and serviced. So our systems are first class.
Okay, the third question. Most people believe the Ocean Springs economy is doing well. Do you see gaps in our local economy, and if so, what are they? And what would you do to fill those gaps?
Well, there are several things you can do. We want to attract businesses that do not pollute and do not cause us problems later on. We have had several businesses in town. In fact, one of them is at the corner of Pine and Government. And the water there, not the water, but the water table, was polluted with acetone. And that's still being mitigated. Now, what, I'm sorry, somebody say something? What you have to do is you have to go down about 60 feet to get that out of there. If you do that, then you really got some problems, because not only that, you get in the water table and other things, so you spread it rather than contain it. So right now it's contained. And we know that because we have test spots all over the place there in the area, and they test those regularly, so we know it's dissolving as we speak. But to fill the gaps, it's really funny. You can watch the businesses that go and come in Ocean Springs, and as soon as a business moves out, somebody else is moving in, and they're redoing the whole building. They go in there and tear the walls out, redo it, reshape it. I was in a business today, and they're getting ready to redo it. And I thought to myself, man, this is already nice, and you're going to make it really. She said, you got to keep up with the times. And that's pretty good. That's a good attitude. I think our businesses are on top of especially the ones on Washington and Government. they have the ring seat, or the choice seat, and they really do a good job, I think, of promoting Ocean Springs.
Okay, there are 3 questions that were not submitted in advance, and here's the first one. Explain how your administration will effectively foster relationships with your Board of Aldermen, the private sector, the county, the state, the federal government, to maintain the Ocean Springs charm while responsibly managing its growth.
Communication is absolutely necessary. Every entity you have named, those are important. They make up the complexion of Ocean Springs. The first thing I'd do if I was elected mayor, when we walk in there to meet, every alderman will know I'm the best friend he ever had. I've been an alderman for 24 years. I know how hard it is to get things done. I will formulate 2 things really quickly. First, I will have the best staff possible that I can hire. The second thing I'll do is every alderman will have the chance to submit a list of priorities that they want. We'll take those priorities and we'll have the long term, because we only have 48 meetings that are stated communications, which means you have to meet the first Tuesday of every month by law. And so once we do that, once everything is identified as to what you're going to do, you can stack it short term, long term, mid term, or whatever area you want to attack first. But the most important thing is finding the funding to do those things. You know, you can think of a million things you'd like to do, but if you can't fund it, you can't have it. So it's pie in the sky. So let's get it down to reality. Let's talk about the things we really can do. Now, I'm going to tell you one thing I want to do if I do nothing else. Our streets are paved about that thick in a lot of areas. When you step off the curb, you step down a foot, all right? Those streets need to be ground down and returned to where you can navigate them. How do I know that? Every time we have a cruising the coast, Peter Anderson, or any parade or anything, we have people tripping over that. Okay, downtown especially on Government Street. That needs to be fixed, and we can do that. All we have to do is not pave that time, but fix the streets, fix the gutters, make the gutters work for you, move the water, channel the water. That is probably one of the biggest criticisms I hear from people that come to the coast, that come to Ocean Springs. Why do you have that drop-off, especially around Tater Nut? If you've ever been down here, you know what I'm talking about. Now, the other thing is we have a lot of beautification projects that have been started, and they, God help me, I love them. But after they start them, they walk away from them, and they're never completed. It's worse than it was before you made it pretty. So we need, if we're going to do a beautification project, we need to keep it up and make sure it's watered and tended properly. The other thing is our traffic signals and a few other things that really need to be addressed. I don't know if you have another question for that, or did you want me to handle it now? Okay.
There is a perception in the cities that the city's focus on beautification has waned in recent years, while challenges like homelessness has increased. These issues impact both the quality of life of residents and the experience of tourists and visitors to Ocean Springs. What will you do as mayor to improve beautification, address homelessness, and improve the quality of life here?
You know, I agree with you that we do need to do something about that, and we can. That's not something that's out of reach or out of touch. I touched it just a little bit a while ago. If you start a project, you need to finish it. If you beautify an area, you need to keep it groomed, swept, and nice. I don't know if any of you noticed or not, but when you go to some of our corners, our intersections, the rocks are sometimes pretty deep, okay? Well, that's real easy to fix. We have a sweeper, we have other things. But listen, we also have contracts to cut grass down Highway 90. The guy that can cut that grass can sweep those streets every time he cuts the grass, and then it's over with. The city doesn't have to mess with it. We can do that all over town. Sidewalks, when they're supposed to be 5 foot and they're this, you just have a foot to walk on, you know that you've got a problem. But we've addressed that. Now, to be honest with you, we've had a few hurricanes back to back or storms back to back. Those really take the meat out of our manpower. So we've got a reason for that. But I think those are all accomplishable things, and we can do it.
Anything else you want to say about homelessness?
The homelessness is a problem not just here, but everywhere. When I was an alderman before, we met with a group of people, and we did come to some conclusions. I really think that some of the churches have taken a good position, and they've really done a marvelous job. I do know that some people choose to be that way, and I respect that, but I do know that some of them are down on their luck and they need help. You know, I'm going to tell you something, how I feel about it. The Bible says that beware you entertain angels unaware. When you see somebody that's down on their luck, if you can help them, help them. If you can't, find somebody that can. At least you've done something, and God expects that of each one of us. I don't know the answer to all of the problems with the homeless, but I do know that there are people in this town that are willing and able to do it, to help them and to make it better for them.
Thank you. And the last question is this. Pascagoula and Gulfport, among other cities, have major economic development projects on the ground or in their works. They are funded through their respective redevelopment authorities. Would Ocean Springs benefit from the establishment of a redevelopment authority? If so, what should the goals of such an entity be?
You know, we have probably one of the best group of people in this town, and I could name every one of them because a lot of them are in this room, that probably have more vision and more experience than most people that you would hire to do that. In fact, I think the city hired 2 groups not long ago, and both of them didn't do really anything. So what I'd like to do is take the Chamber of Commerce with a consortium of people that are business-oriented in special fields, put them together, and let's say, hey, let's come up with a plan. Let's do what we haven't done in the past. Now, the problem is getting out to the east. We're built out here, so the only place we can move is to the east. Well, water and sewer's already out there. Everything's fine. All you got to do is hook up. So that would be the challenge, to try to incorporate those areas into the downtown area and make them feel as comfortable as we have with the downtown people, make them part of Ocean Springs. In talking to some people the other day, one of them told me, he says, we don't feel like we're in Ocean Springs a lot of times. And I said, well, that's not true. You need to come in and make yourself known and join the crowd. I guarantee you. But I will do everything I can to help those businesses out there have the same benefits and the same attention that we give the downtown area. But I'm going to tell you, location, location, location. That should be situation, location, location, because some things you just can't do anything about.
You have a minute or 2 left. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I love Ocean Springs. I have no agenda to hurt anyone or to do anything but help Ocean Springs. I love Ocean Springs. I love Ocean Springs. And I want to tell you something. When I moved here, there was a guy, and I know his son's sitting there, and I'm not trying to butter him up because I love him just as much as I do his daddy. But Brad Lemon, Curtis Lloyd, and a few others taught me a lot about this city. And let me tell you something. You love Ocean Springs. I know all of you do, or you wouldn't be here. But let me tell you what you do. You get you a convertible or get you one of these golf carts and ride around real slow in the downtown area. And just let Ocean Springs talk to you. You don't need to do anything. Just sit in that car and just let Ocean Springs talk to you. And let me tell you something. If you don't fall in love with Ocean Springs, something's wrong with you. Folks, we have what people love. If you could just be there with me doing cruising and Peter Anderson, when people come up to me and say, Chick, we love this city. Don't change it. Don't do anything to ruin it. Let me tell you something. Those words mean something to me, because that's somebody telling you from somewhere else that, hey, I love it here and I'd do anything in the world to be here. Now, one other thing. Enjoy one another. The richest thing we have in Ocean Springs going for us is people. People make or break any city. And I can tell you right now, the people in this city have reached out to people all over, and they love you. And I tell you, when somebody hurts in this town, we all hurt. We love one another. And I want to tell you something else. I love Tater Nut Donuts, and we need to pray for that family. That was a tragedy, okay, and we can do that. We can bring that back. That family means a lot to this city, just like the Lemons and other people that have given everything. That's what makes this city what it is. It's that connected and that bond that they formed to make this city what it is. And let me tell you something. I will be there in the morning if I'm elected, before everybody gets there, and I will be there long after they leave. This boy will work. I love Ocean Springs, and I have nothing else better to do. And I'm retired. I don't need the money for the salary, so I'm not going to worry about it, okay? If I get the salary, I'll probably take it, and I'll take the same salary that the alderman's getting, and I'll take the rest of it, and I'll help homeless people. I'll help churches. I'll help those people that need it. That's what I'll do.
Thank you very much, Chick Cody. Thanks. So Brian Sanderson is going to introduce Melanie Allen, and someone's going to get the sign as well. Here comes Brian now.
All right.
Show, Brian.
Thanks, Ricky. Good evening, everyone. Brian Sanderson. It's a real pleasure to be with you tonight. Thank you for coming out. Thank you to the organizers for hosting this, to the other candidates, and to Ricky Matthews for doing what he does so well. No one knows what makes great communities and great leaders like Ricky does, and he's one of them. I'm really excited tonight to tell you why Maria and I, my wife, are supporting Melanie Allen. And it's reasons that are very personal to us. Our involvement on this campaign is completely from a volunteer capacity, but we have very selfish motives in doing it, and I'll tell you about those in just a moment. I've known Melanie for 10, 12 years now. In that time, Maria and I, as you may know, have the opportunity with our jobs to travel around the country doing the work that we do, working with Republican candidates. Most of those run for governor. We get to know them, understand what makes them tick, what makes them effective or not so effective leaders. And having that experience and knowing Melanie, I can tell you without hesitation that she has the qualities, the leadership, and the experience to make a great leader for our town. She will be exceptional. And I tell you this for a few reasons. She has the brass tacks and she has the vision. She knows how to keep the streetlights on, how to keep our ball fields open, how to balance the city checkbook. But she also knows how to bring people together, to convene them, to talk, and to create those aspirational visions that we all want for our community and that we have here today. I want to keep that going. She knows every corner, every ditch, every street in this city, not because she's prepped for some forum like this tonight. It's because of her decades of volunteerism and service and working beside you for the betterment of this city. And because of that, I know what she'll bring to the office of mayor if the citizens of this city give her that honor. And she will work for you tirelessly day in and day out. So in closing, let me just tell you the very selfish motivation that Maria and I have for supporting her. And that's because we have 3 children, all under the age of 8. In 15, 20 years from now, when they're making a decision where they want to work and raise their family, I want them to choose where we're making our home. And I want the city government that we're about to elect for the next 4 years, I know it's going to go, the ramifications of what we decide in a few months will go well beyond the next 4 years. They will have generational impacts. We've got to get it right. I believe the right choice is Melanie Allen. I would recommend that you support her, and I'll wholeheartedly do so. So now I'll turn it over back to you, Ricky, or back to Melanie. Thanks.
Hi. Hi. Okay. I do want to start out by saying that we all offer our prayers and our deepest heartfelt thoughts to the families of Deputy Sheriff Boutte and for the family of Lee Brumfield, who was someone many of us knew and thought the world of. I'm a Republican candidate for mayor of Ocean Springs, and I'm qualified for this job. I don't bring the enthusiasm and the knowledge of cruising the coast in situations like that Chick has. I'll never have that. Kenny has a family legacy and deep family ties in Biloxi, Natchez, and here, and I can't compete with that. Jeff has 13 years of weight in the legislature, and I'd love to see him use his seniority up there to help us down here a little longer. And Summer, who you've met, I don't know well, but I think the young lady has a lot of potential. I enjoyed talking with her, and I look forward to getting to know her better. I present my combination of education, business experience, and proven leadership and clear vision. I'm about a left-brained, right-brained person as you're ever going to meet. I am deep inside a nerd. I like analysis, I like data, I like detail. I need backup information. My people, as we say down here, are from Boston. I was raised by my grandparents in South Florida. My grandfather was a vice president with 20th Century Fox. And I'm happy to say that as that self-made man who did well in life and could not stay retired, I seem to have modeled myself after him. Dinner in our household growing up required debate, having watched Walter Cronkite, and my introduction to politics was really with Nixon. My family loved Richard Nixon, and I would go with my grandmother when friends were over and put Nixon bumper stickers over anything else they had on their car. I was a Heritage Foundation scholar, a DuPont scholar. I was able, because of my academic background, to start college in Boston at 16. I grew up playing golf. I made my pocket money giving golf lessons and tutoring people, and I'd likely have continued as a professional golfer if I hadn't fallen in love with a professor my second year in college. I still believe you can find out a lot about a person from the way they act on a golf course, when people are looking and when they're not looking. So by 25, my career and my life arc, I was a married woman, a mom, a business person. My education no longer meant philosophy and literature. It meant taking business, accounting. It meant learning marketing and promotion. It meant going to Spring Hill, and instead of taking other classes, I took real estate law and tax law. 10 years later, I was starting over as a divorced mom with a little boy. I realized that the best potential for my son and myself was for me to go into business for myself. But in the meantime, I worked for other companies in Mobile, and my effort was to find good employment that had benefits and health insurance for my boy. In going into business for myself, it was not turning on a switch overnight. Like many of you, my business built up by working overnight, working late at night, working weekends, building one account as another. I owned a successful communication company, and what I learned was that when you finally grow 6 figures in a business and you start becoming successful, you have self-employment taxes, you have human resources issues. It is not easy. I also learned it's not what many of you know, it's not how much you make, it's how much you legally can take home. My career with communications brought me to Biloxi because I had a client in Coastal Family Health Center. I wrote grants and administration for them that brought in over $22 million in funding. That experience of coming to Biloxi was how I discovered Ocean Springs. So when my son went to college in 1995, I moved from Mobile to Ocean Springs. Katrina affected me like it did many of you. I would not have a mortgage today had I had flood insurance. It taught me the value of community. It meant not just writing checks once or twice a year to a nonprofit. It meant going out there, doing the work, not complaining about things or sitting around talking about how they ought to change. It meant being part of an organization, doing things, showing up. Brian and I have put together a packet which we're going to distribute to you that has information about me. And I want to say to you, if you dismiss me as someone who is only interested in arts and culture, I ask you to take another look. I'm a business person. I know the success and the freedom that doing well in life brings you. And if you look at the projects I've been involved in and led in Ocean Springs, I've been a leader in Jose for many years, Historic Ocean Springs Association. Jose has invested over $700,000 in projects in this community. That has economic impact. If you think my involvement with Papos, the public art project, is too frilly, we've placed $161,000 worth of respectable, beautiful, impressive art in this community. And every award this community has gotten in the last decade has mentioned public art. If you think my involvement with the Land Trust makes me a tree-hugging liberal, you're wrong. I understand that business and the environment can coexist, and we have to, especially here where we fight gravity and Mother Nature, always as living along the coast. So my work with the Land Trust has been about bringing focus on art at 12 Oaks, which is one of our properties here in Ocean Springs, And that goes along with Jackson County's focus on promoting Jackson County as nature's wonderland. So when we combine art and we combine nature, we bring people to this community for many reasons. I'm the nerdy person who does my homework. I'm prepared for meetings. I love a P&L as much as I love a historical biography. I believe this city is ready for proactive management. I think the success in Ocean Springs, the key for success in Ocean Springs is communication with our citizens. Social media has its place. It is not an excuse for face-to-face dialogue. The wealth of talent in this room tonight speaks to me of the need for more advisory councils in this community. We used to have an active economic development advisory council in this community. We talk about beautification. We have a wealth of information here and value. We know the value of it. Beautification is not just planting flowers, it's branding our community as a special place, a place we love. We can talk about our love of Ocean Springs all day, but if the gateways don't look like we love this place, if our community pride is not raised to the level where we are proud to live here. I could live anywhere in the world. I choose to live here. Some of you are natives. Some of you have made the same choice. We need to maximize efficiency and effectiveness of our city government by promoting, by recruitment and retention efforts, and by providing opportunities for advancement and continuing education. That's how you keep good people in a community. And when we talk about transportation and we talk about widening Highway 90, I will ask you to consider that Ocean Springs as a community has been formed by modes of transportation. You look at our history. We began at the foot of Jackson Street, where there was a dock and steamships and other boats could stop. We were a stopping off point to somewhere else, and the community grew around that. As railroads came in, am I getting close? As the railroads came up, the community crept up Washington. So the question is with Highway 90, do we want a speedway or do we want a boulevard? Our existing comprehensive plan does not call for a 4 or an 8-lane highway. Do we want people to go through Ocean Springs or visit and appreciate Ocean Springs? So I'm going to close by saying, why did I run? I had a good friend the other night say, Melanie, you have a near perfect life. Did you lose your mind? I did not. I want to return to this community what you've given me. That whisper in my voice, in my heart, told me it's time. When I was looking for someone else to run, God whispered to me, it's you. And that whisper became a roar, and it's now a passion. I want to be the next mayor of Ocean Springs. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. We'll start with the submitted questions first, and the first question is this. What is your vision for the city of Ocean Springs? What are the things you have done and experienced in life or business? You've covered some of those already, that's good. That have prepared you to operate the city in the executive role. Please be specific about how you're equipped to prepare the city budget and managing personnel, including hiring your executive staff. This includes, of course, acting as the face of the city.
Okay, that's one question, right, Ricky? Okay, that's a broad one. My vision for Ocean Springs is a community that has grown by plan and not by momentum. We are going to grow, we know that. We have done the homework for it. We've become popular, we're a destination location. Because of that, we have the opportunity to have momentum move us forward and we become Anywhere USA. Or we take this time for an ongoing community conversation. And believe me, communication and collaboration, those are things I firmly believe in and were core to my success in business. We have to decide collectively who we want to be. Do we want to just be bigger? Do we want to retain the authenticity of this town? People have found us. People have selected us. People choose us as a destination. They come here and stay at the Roost because of who we are now. If we let any business come into town and we are not proactive, we should actively be looking for who we need in Ocean Springs. The issue with the Dollar General on Highway 90 is one. That property owner has a right to make a profit. There is nothing legally inappropriate about that business being there. Our business, our city, should be managed to where we are looking down the road. We are not coasting on the past. We should say, what are the things we can do to accentuate our gateways, to pull people in. Our sister cities have been amazingly growing. They have upped their assets in the last decade. Billy Hughes is doing a fabulous job in Gulfport. When people with money in their wallet go down Highway 90 or they go down I-10, they make a choice where to get off for lunch. They make a choice where to get off and spend the night. When they come down the interstate, which gateway do we want them to come in? From the west, the north, the east? Do they equally say this is an extraordinary place? I don't think they do. We need to. As far as budgeting and key staff, I have managed budgets of over 12 million. I've never managed a budget as large as the city's, but I understand business. I understand a P&L. I understand a balance sheet. I understand trends. I like analysis. Key staff is kind of already put together in this format. We have an organizational chart for the city. The aldermen at the top of that organizational chart, the mayor works for them. My key staff would be department directors. I have taught and been paid for strategic planning for many companies through the years. I would put those efforts to work.
Ocean Springs has an aging water and sewage infrastructure that requires attention. Highway 90 has significant congestion. Challenges exist in most neighborhoods. While we understand you cannot fix infrastructure needs in one term, how do you view them in terms of priority, and what is your long-term vision for solving them?
Long-term vision for
solving them.
For solving them, okay. Again, I'm going to go back to community conversation. We need to be looking for patterns of traffic. We need to be spending our resources from public works, from all city services, from one limit of the city to another. There's a lot of concern whether our resources are fairly shared. First part of the question again.
Yes, it was about just water and sewage infrastructure, Highway 90.
Thank you.
Yes.
Infrastructure in particular has got to be a priority for this community. I have spent some time talking to Saren Ainsworth. I've spent time talking to Ken Papania recently. Both of them have expertise in waste management and in sewer and drainage. The city of Ocean Springs has a main ditch, as they call it, that goes down Bechtel, I believe, is a main part of how we drain this city. Drainage is amazingly important. It's not sexy. It doesn't bring people into restaurants, but if you don't have it, you're in trouble. Our infrastructure we should have a plan right now. I know we're about 25% into a plan for the big ditch with the county. It's going to take exceptional collaboration between the county and the city to know the timeline of that project and push it forward. It's extremely important. There is nothing more important as we look at the economic development in eastern Ocean Springs than drainage. We are fighting gravity and Mother Nature. The places we have opportunities for growth have drainage problems. We cannot add development and endanger residences, but it's a long-term project that cannot be ignored and needs to be addressed and talked about every month from now till forever.
Thank you. The next question is, people believe that Ocean Springs' economy is doing well. Do you see gaps in our local economy, and if so, what are they? And how would you recommend filling those gaps?
Yeah, I think, again, it goes to proactive management with that question. We do look like we're doing well. The tax rolls are doing well. And that's a great thing. I think in some ways we're coasting on our past reputation. I think that competition is built up around us in our sister cities. And I think we need to be aware of that. We are a brand. Ocean Springs is a business. We are a product, and we need to be aware of that. We need to serve our citizens and promote our economic development so that we preserve our tax base, but we need some diversity in our tax base. We need light industry in here. We need some tech in this area. We are a highly retail service hospitality community. You know, in your personal investment portfolios at home, you don't put all your stocks, your money in one stock. You diversify. When you diversify, there is protection. If you don't, you're taking a risk. We should know right now, our citizens and our business owners should be telling us, where are the gaps right now? We should be aggressively working with them, promoting that. We have way too much real estate that's empty. We need to be addressing empty properties as well. Is that my time limit? Okay.
Okay, these were not submitted, so there are 3 of them. Explain how your administration will effectively foster relationships with the Board of Aldermen, the private sector, the county, the state, the federal government to maintain Ocean Springs' charm while responsibly managing growth.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that is the question that lingers for all of us. And it should be dominant in the minds of everyone when you go vote and when you're researching candidates you will consider. This community has an authenticity that is unduplicated anywhere else. We are, I think, the second oldest organized city in the country at 1699. If we change just because we can, if we do not protect those particular qualities that make Ocean Springs unique, we will have lost our biggest asset. And I'm sure everybody who's spoken before me has brought that up. As a product, as someone who is able to tell people how to best tell their story, we know the qualities. You know the qualities of the people who come and stay at the Roost. You know the qualities who come to your businesses. Our aldermen have got to work collectively to address the priority issues. We should have a top 5 or 6 issue menu, and we address them often and regularly, and we work the problem. My business approach is you have a vision, you create a plan. You have goals and objectives to achieve that plan. You have a budget and a timeline. It is not what I think about things. It is not how I feel. It is not my opinion. This is business. Ocean Springs needs to be running as a business. Let's go with that.
Thank you. Okay, the next one. There is a perception that the city's focus on beautification has waned in recent years, while challenges like homelessness have increased. These issues impact the quality of life of residents and the experience of tourists and visitors to Ocean Springs. What will you do as mayor to improve beautification and address homelessness and also improve the quality of life here?
Okay. Quality of life is extremely important to all of us. Homelessness is an issue that breaks everyone's heart. I probably have more experience in dealing with the homeless in Ocean Springs than most everybody in this room, maybe collectively, because as an officer of historic Ocean Springs, we maintain Marshall Park downtown. That is a place where you'll see many homeless people. And while my heart breaks for them, I have to say, it is the responsibility of this community, if we're going to take action, to provide some way to transition these folks off the streets into being citizens, real citizens, people who are not unsafe out on the street. If the approach of this community is to address the homeless because they're unsightly and we want them out of the way when we have a festival, well, okay, I think we can do better. Our children are watching. But I'm also someone who goes to Marshall Park and I have to clean up after these folks. That is not fun. You all are not doing that. It's hard not to be angry. There's a place to be compassionate and a place also for anger. And as mad as I am, for example, of Glenn, the large man who's been in Marshall Park for the last month, as mad as I am about cleaning up after him, when I see him eating out of a trash can on Cache Alley, I go to Burger King and buy him food. I am as conflicted about this as everyone. I served on the board of the Mobile Homeless Coalition in Mobile, Alabama. We were able to find resources away from the downtown community. There are some ways to consider that the Lord is my help as an extraordinary resource. Does it draw people downtown. If you're hungry, you're going to go where there's a meal, absolutely. But the majority of the services from The Lord Is My Help are to homebound and shut-in people. Perhaps there's a way we can continue that resource, grow that resource in addressing the homeless problem. But I see this as not being the city's budgetary responsibility to deal with homeless. We need to learn from other communities that have done it well. We need to be respectful of the limitations of the police force. Captain here has explained this. We've had numerous conversations. There are lawsuits across this country that prevent the police from enforcing rules of community standards involving the homeless. The last thing Ocean Springs needs is one more lawsuit. There is a way to combine humanity and practicality and protect the interest of our business owners downtown. For years we talked about homelessness and we said, oh, we need a public bathroom downtown. I do not agree with that. Let's find a way to help transition these folks. The 3 reasons for homelessness normally are mental health issues, drug issues, lack of available housing. This community needs to have an ongoing conversation, deal with existing resources along the coast that are dedicated to the homeless, take advantage of those, be part of the answer, coordinate a community effort, and let's move forward with this.
Thank you, Melanie. Here's the last question. Pascagoula and Gulfport, among other cities, have major economic development projects on the ground or in the works. They are funded through their respective redevelopment authorities. Would Ocean Springs benefit from establishing a redevelopment authority? If so, what should be the goals of such an entity?
Well, I love that question because I'm enthusiastic about a redevelopment authority here, honestly. And I think many of the people in this room would be folks on that council. We can look at opportunities that have been provided to Pascagoula, for example. I looked up redevelopment authorities when I saw that might be a question. And I had the pleasure of talking to Dr. Hal Moore, who is on the board in Pascagoula of their redevelopment authority. It works. It is a way to leverage private investment to the fullest extent. If you can get 25% in support for a project that will add on to your boutique hotel, to put beds upstairs over a restaurant, to expand in some way that will drive economic development in your community, a redevelopment authority is an outstanding way for these decisions to be made on a local basis and provide up to 25% of support. Leveraging public-private partnerships is an exceptional key to the future of this community. It will allow growth in a managed way. The city has to have a plan. The city has to have a comprehensive plan that is up to date, that has changed, because we've changed in the last decade. We are not, in many ways, fulfilling our existing comprehensive plan. If we look at infill, we look at 90, we look at downtown on government, we have some serious issues to deal with because of our own success. It's a great problem to have. But you all should be the people coming up with the answers, not City Hall. Every event downtown should have a post-mortem event. We should be discussing how we can do it better. We know we have traffic problems. Businesses downtown know when they need their suppliers. Let's have a conversation about it. The answers do not come from City Hall. They come from the business community, from citizens in the community, and they work their way. I believe in a driven community from the a government from the community up, and I stand by that.
So, Millie, you have like a minute left if you want to make a closing thought.
Do you have a question for me of any kind?
No, that's it.
Not at all. I will take advantage of that probably and say to you that I feel very strongly that this community is at a crossroads. We are not the community we used to be. We're not the community we're going to be. We will move by progress that someone else pushes, or we will define our own future in this community. We know why people love Ocean Springs. We know why many of us choose to live here. The authenticity, the natural resources, the environment here has charm. It reeks of history and culture. It's a place you want to raise your kids. What we want to be is a city where our children will choose to come back and live here after us and invest their dreams, their potential, their sweat equity, everything back into this city. It is our responsibility to create that place for them and to preserve the sense of place that we have here in Ocean Springs. I think that's about a minute. Was that pretty good, Ricky? All right. I thank you all for this opportunity. It means the world to me. Face-to-face is how we communicate. I respect everybody else who's running in this race. We're going to have a great mayor when we get finished with this. I just thank you for the opportunity. I ask for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. I'm gonna turn it back over to Joe, but I just want to make a quick comment. It won't surprise you to learn that in my publisherships of Times-Picayune, Mobile Press Register, the Sun Herald, especially the Sun Herald, I've been to a lot of mayor's forums over the years. This is one of the most passionate, the most, I don't know, there's so much love for this city, you can sense it. And one of the things that's really refreshing is that no candidate said anything about the other candidate except something nice. And that's really refreshing. And your guys are going to be in, I live in Biloxi, but I love Ocean Springs. This city is going to be in great hands no matter who wins. So thank you for including me. And I'm going to turn it back over to Joe Cloyd now.
Thank you, Ricky. Let's give a big round of applause for Ricky Matthews for coming and helping us. Keep this done in a timely manner, which is not an easy thing to do. Thank you very much. And also a big last round of applause for our candidates. I think they did an outstanding job. In closing, I'd like to say just a couple of quick things before everybody heads out. We did lose not a resident today, but a very active community member, Mr. Lee Brumfield. And I'd like for us to take just a brief moment of silence in honor and memory of him. And thank you. And I guess to wrap this up, I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments about the process or whatever. I'm happy to talk to anyone or any candidate about it. But I want to thank the members of the committee that helped organize this, most of which are still here, and I'm probably going to miss somebody, but Ted Condrey is over there, Alan Lucky, Josh Danos, Eric Nichols, Clay Williams, Scott Lemon, Greg Cronin. Who am I missing that helped kind of organize it? Fred Moran, Brian Fulton, a couple other guys from the county, and we just appreciate all the help that we got to help pull this off. It was really quite an extraordinary opportunity just to hear straight from each candidate. We hope that it was very fair. We hope it was informative for you guys. And in my last part and shot would be, I would just encourage the chamber or somebody else to create another opportunity to give everybody another chance to get out and say something in the forum capacity or other format. And again, thanks for coming. Bar's still open downstairs. We're going to close it upstairs, and good night. Thank you.